Welcome to Boo Crew Case Files. I'm your host, Bree Schroeder. I've got a story here that's a little different than ones that I've done before. I'm actually running the Scryer software, which is much like the Phasma box, but I want to see if, when telling the story, if there will be any communication to try to give me more details or chime in to talk to us. So we'll go ahead and begin. You'll hear a little bit of sound playing from the Scryer box. It plays music or some audio at times. But we'll go ahead and begin the story here. The Home for Friendless Children was constructed in 1887 to offer shelter for homeless and delinquent. The home. Did they say cookies? The Home for the Friendless Children was constructed in 1887 to offer shelter for homeless and delinquent children by the Lady Benevolent Society of Spokane Falls. Police often took undisciplined children to the home, where they did chores as a way to regulate their behavior. The orphanage was well respected because of the exemplary behavior displayed by children, so when people of Spokane learned of the atrocities that transpired within the home, it came as a shock. In 1935, it was reported that few teenage girls ran away from the home. They were picked up by police officers. The children begged and pleaded not to go back and feared for their safety. It was said that the superintendent was not only physically abusive to many of the children, he was having inappropriate relations with some of the boys. This led to an investigation that resulted in the arrest of both the superintendent and his assistant. The case was rushed to court due to public outrage, and each man who confessed to their action received 10 years in prison. The scandal led to many of the children being relocated to other orphanages opened in Spokane by the same women who had opened the Home of the Friendless Children. Just talking about the story, we already had something state investigate the case. It's pretty mind-blowing to have something like this come through the Scryer, which is just going through voice banks. And you're not hearing voices coming through consistently. You're not hearing randomness. Some things are making sense. And so I am here to investigate this case of the Home of the Friendless. What happened? I'd like to know more about this. I think this is a big part of dark Spokane history. This is where I'd like to begin this dark history exploration of Spokane. So I have some questions that I want to get out and see if we can get some responses. What was the name of the superintendent or his assistant? Can anyone tell me what it was like living at the Home of the Friendless? And succeed. I couldn't make out the first part, but and succeed. Who's talking with us?
Still beguiling them.
It sounded like it said something beguiling.
Joining me is Katrina. She's my other ears. that's a little concerning. Die. One other time that I've been here, I ran the Phasma box and had children speaking, including one instance where it said "Mama." Are there any children?
But fines don't.
The 13 find us. Who are the 13? Where can we find you? Alright, I'm going to turn this off. Are there any other messages or things you'd like to say? Alright, I want to thank you for communicating, and I'm going to go ahead and turn this off now. We're going to go ahead and start the Phasma box and see if we can get any responses to some of the questions, because I think this deserves a little more investigating. So as we just told the story of the home of the Friendless children that was constructed in 1887, we are sitting where that building is, but is no more the orphanage.
In the church.
They're in the church. Yes. So, can anybody tell me the name of the superintendent or his assistant?
Thou art the
Something in my soul. Yes. Are there any children from the home of the Friendless around?
Have
You found it.
Remembrance of the dead.
Remember the dead. I'm aware that there are at least 2 children that were kicked out. Their names Carl and Milton. Are either of Carl or Milton around? What was it like living at the home of the Friendless? I'm pretty sure I just heard a psst and then a what. I'm about to turn this off. Are there any final messages or anything you'd like to say? Sounded like don't like his chances. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off. Thank you if you were communicating. Appreciate that. So quite an interesting story. The home of the friendless. The dark tale of the orphanage that was open to do good here in Spokane, and at the hands of the superintendent and his assistant, it went completely wrong and forced a closure and the orphans to be relocated. Quite sad, and a dark mark in Spokane for something that was supposed to be so good and so well benefited for the children. I can't make sense of the investigate the case comment that we initially received when just trying to tell the story, later getting the die. There's still more to explore here at the home of the friendless, and I hope to do just that. If you heard anything that you'd like to report, or if you know anything about the home of the friendless, please feel free to email me at boocrew.pnw@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you and see what information I can gather. Also, if you're interested, I'm also curious to know when we do these stories and we get this information and maybe somebody hears something or we hear something later, do you want to hear a debrief of the investigation? Would you like those call-outs as what we caught? Please write in, let me know so that I can provide more content and a happy experience in these investigations. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Boo Crew Case Files. Join me on the next investigation as we explore more Spokane history and upcoming St. Ignatius Hospital patients.